It started with a phone call no one ever wants to make. Kim Kardashian's voice trembled as she told Kourtney that doctors had found something, a small aneurysm on her brain scan. The moment aired on Hulu, but even through the screen, you could feel the fear behind her calm. For a woman who built an empire on control, this was the one thing she couldn't manage or fix. Kourtney froze, her hand over her heart, whispering just one word. Whoa. Fans who watched were stunned. Was this stress, fate, or something much deeper? Kim kept repeating the same question. Why me? Why now? And when doctors told her that stress could be a cause, she went quiet, because she already knew where that stress came from. But no one expected her to say who she blamed. It was supposed to be a routine checkup, the kind you squeeze in between business calls and school drop-offs. For Kim Kardashian, it was just another MRI, something she thought would be over in minutes. But when the doctor walked back in with that practiced calm that only bad news carries, her world tilted. He told her they had found something, a little aneurysm. Two words that changed everything. He explained it gently, but the weight was unbearable. Aneurysms may be small, but they carry silent danger. A ticking presence inside the brain that could rupture without warning. For Kim, who has built her life on appearances of control, the idea that something inside her could break at any second was terrifying. She called Kourtney almost immediately. Her voice trembled, her breathing uneven. On the other end of the line, Kourtney froze, one hand over her heart, whispering only, "Whoa!" The word hung heavy in the silence between them. Kim tried to stay composed, asking the same questions over and over. Why? How did this happen? Is it serious? But the doctor's response offered little comfort. It's small, but we have to monitor it. That phrase, small but serious, echoed in her head like a countdown. And as she sat in her car afterward, tears streaking her face, the fear turned into something else. Guilt. Because deep down, she thought she already knew why this had happened, but what truly broke her wasn't the diagnosis. It was what she believed caused it. When the doctor mentioned stress as a possible trigger, Kim froze. It was like the room suddenly got smaller, her chest tighter. Because in that single word, stress, she heard years of chaos echo back at her. The interviews, the meltdowns, the sleepless nights spent reading headlines about her own marriage, and one name pulsed through it all. Kanye. She didn't say it out loud, but she didn't have to. Every person close to her knew the weight she had been carrying since the divorce. Their love story had once been larger than life. Designer gowns, private jets, fairy tale weddings. But behind the filtered perfection, it had become a battlefield. What the world saw as a celebrity breakup, Kim lived as a slow unraveling of her peace. The flashbacks came fast. The public outbursts, the explosive tweets, the interviews where Kanye called out his own family, accusing them of keeping his children from him, of using their kids for publicity, of being part of what he once called the Kardashian mob. Each post would go viral, each claim forcing Kim to choose between silence and self-defense. And through it all, she stayed calm in public. But inside, she was breaking. Reports say she often blamed herself for enduring it too long, for trying to fix someone who didn't want to be saved. Even now, she couldn't help but wonder if the years of tension and emotional exhaustion had taken a physical toll. In that quiet moment after the doctor left the room, Kim whispered to herself, "Maybe I did this to me." It was guilt, heartbreak, and realization all tangled together. The kind that makes you see your past differently. And that's when she admitted something fans never expected. For years, Kim had carefully chosen her words whenever the topic of Kanye came up. Until now. Sitting in front of the camera during the Season 7 premiere, she finally let the truth slip out. Her voice was calm, but her eyes told another story. "I've been able to hide it for so long," she said quietly. "I always felt like I had a little bit of Stockholm syndrome." It was a shocking confession. The phrase, usually reserved for people who begin to empathize with their captors, hit like a thunderclap across social media. Fans replayed the clip in disbelief. What did she mean by that? Kim explained that she had spent years defending and protecting Kanye, even when he hurt her emotionally, even when his actions humiliated her in public. She had felt responsible for his image, his recovery, his peace, all while losing her own. "I always wanted to help him, even when it cost me peace," she admitted, eyes glistening. For many viewers, that single line said everything. It wasn't bitterness. It was exhaustion, the kind that comes from years of walking on emotional glass. Online, fans were split. Some called her brave for finally acknowledging what millions of women experience but rarely name. Others accused her of playing the victim after benefiting from the fame the relationship brought. But beneath all the noise, there was a quiet realization spreading through the comments. Kim Kardashian had finally stopped pretending everything was fine. It was raw, vulnerable, and unlike anything she'd ever said before. And yet, as emotional as it wasn't the end of the story. Not even close. Because even after all that pain, the drama didn't end there. Just when Kim thought the worst was behind her, Kanye reignited the storm. In March, he unleashed another barrage of tweets. Angry, cryptic, and painfully personal. He accused Kim and her family of belonging to what he called the Kardashian mob, claiming they were using his children for publicity and manipulating his role as a father. But this time, his words went even further. He pointed fingers at Hulu, Disney, and what he called a bigger agenda, saying his selectively bred black children were being used to influence others. It wasn't just another outburst. It was an attack that sent shockwaves through both Hollywood and Kim's heart. He compared seeing his kids to visitation in jail, painting himself as a father locked out of his own family. And as the tweets went viral, Kim's phone didn't stop buzzing. Every news outlet, every gossip site, every fan account had something to say. For her, it wasn't about the headlines anymore. It was about her children reading those words someday. Then came the breaking point, the post about their daughter North. Kanye released a song featuring North's voice alongside Sean "Diddy" Combs, who was at that time incarcerated under severe allegations. Fans erupted, calling it reckless and exploitative. Reports say Kim was devastated, blindsided by the release, and terrified of what it meant for her daughter's privacy. Every new tweet, every accusation felt like reopening a wound she was desperate to close. Her friends say the stress was visible. Sleepless nights, tearful phone calls, moments of panic that reminded her of the doctor's words. Stress can cause this. But even as she tried to stay silent, the situation kept spiraling. Kanye's posts weren't just words. They were reminders that no matter how much distance she put between them, his shadow followed her everywhere. And just when Kim thought it couldn't get worse, it did. To the public, Kim Kardashian looked unshakable. Her social media feed was a highlight reel of photo shoots, red carpets, and business milestones. She was filming new episodes, promoting her latest Skims drop, and even taking on the unexpected role of a dark, complex character in American Horror Story. But behind the curated posts and flawless makeup, there was a woman unraveling. Friends close to her have said Kim threw herself into work as a way to cope. Every product launch, every fashion campaign, every sleepless night spent approving edits was a form of distraction, something to drown out the noise in her head. "If I stay busy, I don't have to feel," one insider recalled her saying, and for a while it worked. She smiled on cue, showed up on set, and gave interviews about empowerment, while privately fighting panic and exhaustion. As a mother, she tried to keep her world steady for her 4 kids. North, Saint, Chicago, and Psalm. They were her reason to get up in the morning, even when she hadn't slept at all. But balancing motherhood with emotional recovery is harder than any runway or camera angle. Every school pickup or bedtime routine came with the weight of knowing their father's latest headlines were only a few clicks away. In public, she stayed graceful. In private, she cried in silence, the kind of tears that don't make a sound but leave you empty. Her family called it strength. She called it survival. She told producers during a confessional, "People see the glam, but they don't see the cost." That single line summed up her existence. A woman living two lives at once. One perfectly polished for the world. The other quietly breaking down behind closed doors, but behind every photo shoot smile. There's a woman terrified of what her body is saying. When the news about Kim's aneurysm reached the rest of the family, the reaction was immediate. Kourtney's voice, usually calm and measured, turned sharp with worry. She wasn't just a sister anymore. She was a protector. Sources say she's been checking on Kim daily, insisting that she slow down and take real time to heal. Even Chloe, who's often the emotional glue of the family, was shaken by how vulnerable Kim suddenly seemed. Then there was Kris, the matriarch who's seen her daughters weather every kind of storm. But this time, she wasn't thinking about ratings or brand deals. She was thinking about her child's life. People close to the family say Kris has been quietly stepping in, rearranging Kim's schedule, and encouraging her to take time away from work. "You can rebuild a business," she reportedly told her, "but you can't rebuild a body." The sisters rallied together. Late-night phone calls, quiet dinners without cameras, and moments of real connection that fame rarely allows. For once, the family's world didn't revolve around the next project or headline. It revolved around Kim's health. And in those moments of silence, Kim began to understand something she had forgotten in the noise of success. That peace of mind is the only luxury that truly matters. The designer labels, the awards, the magazine covers, none of it meant anything if her heart was racing every time her phone buzzed. It was a humbling realization for someone who had spent decades perfecting the art of control. For the first time, she wasn't chasing the next thing. She was trying to slow down. Still, one question remains. Can she ever escape the shadow of her past? In the final moments of the episode, Kim sat alone in her confessional chair, mascara smudged, hands trembling ever so slightly. Her voice cracked as she tried to hold herself together. But for once, she didn't. "I've spent my whole life trying to make everything perfect," she said softly. "And maybe that's why my body finally told me to stop." It wasn't a line rehearsed for the cameras. It was a rare, unfiltered truth from someone who has spent 2 decades turning her life into a brand. For a woman who's always projected strength, this was something new. Vulnerability. Viewers could feel it. You could see the years of pressure, the strain of holding up an empire while quietly falling apart inside. She admitted she didn't have all the answers, but for the first time, she wasn't pretending to. The message was clear. Beneath the glamour, fame comes with a cost. One that doesn't show up in photos or Forbes lists. It shows up in sleepless nights, shaky breaths, and silent hospital rooms. But Kim's story isn't just about fear. It's about resilience, the courage to confront pain instead of masking it with another photo shoot or headline. As the episode faded to black, her last words lingered like a whisper. "I'm just human." And maybe that's what made it so powerful. For once, the woman who built an empire out of perfection finally admitted she's human, and that might be her most powerful moment yet. What do you think? Can Kim ever truly find peace? Comment below. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info.